Interplanetary travel has been the talk of the town for some years now, and with NASA's support, the private space industry has been taking large strides to create a safe and efficient technology to be used for that purpose. SpaceX, the current frontline of the private space industry, led by visionary CEO Elon Musk, has been working tirelessly to build the most suitable technology to aid interplanetary travel. This technology is predicted to be one of the ways to serve humanity's space travel progress in the future. And it also comes with perks, which include faster travel time to far-off destinations, increased astronaut safety, and flexibility for the launch from one location to another. And if all goes well, the technology could also reduce the possibility of hostile attacks against satellites. With all of these incredible technological advancements, the company has led the way among major counterparts in the private space industry to the top with the building and testing of this next-generation unique rocket technology. Now, SpaceX has begun preparations to make the historic mark and is set to launch the most powerful rocket ever, the Starship, alongside its booster rocket, the Super Heavy, into orbit for the first time. What is this rocket technology, how does it work, and in what ways does it contribute to the development of interplanetary travel? Join us as we explore how SpaceX will launch the Super Heavy into orbit. The Starship is the foundation of interplanetary travel between planet Mars and the Earth. The Mars colonization enterprise involves and enables humans and cargo to travel to the Red Planet. In a bid to cut down the cost of operation in the travel process, the Starship is designed into two stages, the Starship and the Super Heavy. The Super Heavy, which is the world's most powerful booster and first of its kind, is said to be reusable several times after every trip, despite its great power. It is a huge structure which towers at 69 meters in height and 9 meters in diameter, with enough space to contain 3,400 tons of propellant. The Super Heavy possesses an undeniable liftoff mass of over 3 million kilograms, which generates an enormous thrust coming from the Raptor engines that are designed alongside the booster rocket. It is an intelligent invention that can land on its 6 retractable legs after it separates from its upper body and returns to Earth. However, we all know Elon Musk to be a man of surprises with his unique innovations. So the Super Heavy is also engineered to be caught upon re-entry and landing back to Earth by a pair of arms attached to the launch tower. Even with the risk attached, it still seems like a great innovation done by the company. Several groups such as the US Army are also anxious about the Super Heavy launch, as they plan to use it for their heavy cargo movement from one place to another at a fast pace right here on planet Earth. The powerful booster rocket is said to have been developed completely and is finally going to be launched into orbit along with the Starship. This announcement was made after several postponements of the launch due to further tests and repairs on the booster rocket to ensure perfection in space travel. Due to its complex design, the Super Heavy has to be tested efficiently before it begins operations. Identified as Ship 24 and Booster 7 respectively, the space company tested the prototypes slowly for the past 4 months, starting the tests in April and May. It was only in August that SpaceX began to ignite each vehicle's Raptor engines carefully as part of the static fire testing process, which is regarded as a critical aspect in passing both vehicles for a space flight and is also the most challenging stage. Because of progress made in 2021, SpaceX was able to gather experience on tests while testing an orbital-class Starship prototype on the ground earlier, but the procedure of testing Ship 24 is still fresh and unknown for some reasons, and for Booster 7 the challenges are even more compared to Ship 24. Some major changes were made to the design of Starship and Super Heavy over the last year in a bid to refine the rocket, but SpaceX decided to take it a step further and built a different version of the Raptor engine. When both Raptor engines were compared, it was seen that Raptor V2 looked newer and produced approximately around 25% more thrust, which is 230 tons, compared to Raptor V1, which is 185 tons. The company also made more changes to the engine on how it operates, especially around the startup and shutdown stages, while reducing the value of past experience in testing the Raptor V1 and V1.5 engines on Ship 20 with boosters 3 and 4. After assessing all the facts about the testing of Ship 24 and Booster 7, it can be possible to say that SpaceX is starting from scratch productively. Several stages of the engine testing, including tanking, propellant conditioning, detanking, thermal characteristics, and certain test stands, are not likely to be changed, but almost every part of a rocket is affected by its engines one way or another. Prior to when SpaceX began testing the Raptor V2 engines on Starship and booster prototypes, it wasn't certain if the changes made between the V1.5 and the V2 were going to invalidate a lot of earlier testing. But after the test of the Booster 7 and Ship 24 static fire commenced, it showed that a whole lot of the previous work had to be done all over again. It also shows that even with the simplifications that were made in the design of the Raptor V2, the process of operating the engine on Starship and Super Heavy is more difficult to get right than expected. SpaceX has been able to complete 15 to 20 spin prime tests between Booster 7 and Ship 24 since mid-July. They are the most tests of their nature that have ever been performed than any other prototype in the history of Starbase. Spin prime tests are done by flowing high-pressure gas through the Raptor's pumps so as to spin them up safely and not ignite anything. It is very unclear why many of these tests are being conducted, if the company is gaining anything from the tests, or why it seems to appear that SpaceX has stopped conducting pre-burner tests altogether, which is a spin prime that is more lifelike with partial combustion. After 8 weeks since the beginning of the engine testing, Booster 7 was recorded to have only performed 3 static fires, which were 2 with one engine and 1 with a maximum of 3 or 4 engines, while Ship 24's only completed 1 static fire with 2 engines. But before either of the vehicles can be taken and prepared ready for a flight, each vehicle would have to extensively perform multiple static fires with all of their Raptor engines, 33 Raptor engines on the Booster 7 and 6 booster engines on the Ship 24. And if the pace of the Booster 7 does not affect a change, then the vehicle could be months away from a complete 33-engine static fire attempt, which could later turn out to be the single most important and undetermined test standing between the first orbital launch attempt of SpaceX and Starship. And although the stages of flight preparation and readiness of Ship 24 should be simpler, it is starting to appear to be struggling just like the B7. According to the CEO of SpaceX, billionaire and business mogul Elon Musk has announced that an intense effort is underway so as to ensure that the Raptor engines of the Super Heavy B7 are contained effectively in case an anomaly occurs, so that the failure of an engine would not violently destroy or leave damage on the booster, the rest of the engines, or the launch pad. If it does happen, the damage sustained will make testing the Booster 7 more difficult. It's also possible that the space company is making plans and taking similar steps to protect Ship 24 the same way. In early September, a first multi-engine test was conducted on the Booster 7, and it turned out to be a half-successful static fire. Several tests were also conducted on Ship 24, but none of them failed to achieve the ignition stage. Having noticed this company decided to replace the engines on both vehicles. One of the 13 Raptor center engines was swapped out, and at the same time Ship 24 had one of its 3 Raptor vacuum engines replaced. A few days later, the company sent out a safety alert to the rest of the remaining residents living in Boca Chica, announcing and confirming that SpaceX would like to restart the testing stages as early as Tuesday, September 6th. As of now, the safety alert means nothing, but it still allows the company to conduct its testing if all falls in place with the Booster 7 and Ship 24. Also, more opportunities are available for the company to run further tests and checks on the dates of the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 12th, respectively. Let us know what you think in the comments section below.